To the two of you who are actually watching this, do you think I should put a Goku figure on that bookshelf? I'm curious. So last week's video was somewhat irregular for me to do. I typically don't upload a video like that to Facebook, but I'm glad some people enjoyed it. I got some interesting feedback. I got some compliments, if you want to call it that. And overall, it was a positive experience. To kind of follow the trend of what I'm trying to do, I'm actually going to start fresh. So what I did today was I bought NCAA 14 for the Xbox 360. I'm starting a new Dynasty on it, and I'm going to see how this plays out. So some interesting things that I'm going to do in the series is that I'm actually going to focus on the players by treating them as if they are real people instead of just fictional characters. When I say so-and-so did this or so-and-so scored that many points, treat it like it's a real person. Now the goals are pretty simple, I think. The idea is to win more, obviously. If you're the Texans, then you probably know that feeling better than anyone. The second thing is to prioritize for the future. So that means recruiting top players. That means actually taking the time to scout who I need to get for the next football season. And lastly, it's kind of weird to say this now, especially without preparation, but I need to figure out exactly what my play style is. When I was younger, I used to just spam passing a lot, but this game showed me that you need to mix them up. I never found myself running the ball very often, but it turns out that I'm actually pretty good at it. So the difficulty is going to be a little bit different for this one. So rather than playing on All-American, I'm going to be focusing on varsity with realistic football experience. So that means is that when you watch real college football, you kind of have that same feel to it. It's hard to explain. If you're interested to know more about it, there's a link I can leave in the post or on YouTube down in the description. So read up on it just to get the full description of that. So with all of this in mind, we're going to be calling this series the Dynasty Run, the UTSA edition. I first started by creating our head coach, Henry McBeavis. Coach Henry for short. Most players call him Coach Henry because Coach McBeavis is too distracting for the players. What I did next is that I focused on scouting all the positions I need for next season. There are a few players that I'm keeping an eye on right now, but since it's still early on in the series, I don't want to go into detail on who I have my eye on. So my current roster is how you would expect it to be. There's a lot of 50s, there are a lot of 60 overall players. The only person I'm really interested in is the quarterback. Since I'm running a spread offense, I need to be able to pass the ball accordingly. The schedule I set for myself is a bit unorthodox. I decided to focus on Alabama first, which is an extremely bad idea. So after Alabama, it's LSU week 2 and Stanford week 3. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to see exactly how well I do against tough teams. When I play the highest first, it's going to gradually get to the point where I've experienced this. This will be easy, And then after all these tough teams, they're just scrub teams afterwards. We don't need to go into detail. So once I got done with all the pre-recruiting, I decided to start the season. And the news about our first week was very reassuring. So the scouting went pretty well this week, considering that you only had to spend a certain amount of points each week. I won't be going into detail about this because this is still early on in the series, so I'm going to hold off on it for now. My game against Alabama was fair, but also really tough at the same time. Their quarterback, Carlos Barnes, threw so many consistent passes where I was literally struggling just to stop him. You can see in the background, I could not stop him. Basically, the first half can be summed up with me trying to score, but I only ended up with a field goal. It wasn't until the second half where I was able to make some plays. So basically what I'm trying to say is you need to be watching out for Matt Larkin this season. Defensively speaking, I messed up. There were some plays that I got too trigger happy, and because of that, they were able to score. Other than that, I'm actually surprised that my team was able to hold Alabama to 31 points. I ended up losing 17-31, but it wasn't that bad. It's funny because the news thinks I'm going to lose the entire season, which may be true. But still, stat-wise, I think we did pretty good. We had over 300 yards passing and over 100 yards rushing, so I thought it was pretty good. So be sure to stay tuned next week because it's going to be interesting to see how well I play against LSU next week. So here's to that one. I want to thank you for watching this video, and until the next football weekend, I'll catch you later.